84 years. That's a lot of mornings to wake up and put on a face. Most of them I spent looking in the mirror and wondering if I looked the part. I spent 60 years of my life wearing a suit that didn't fit my soul, just so people I didn't even like would think I was important. It's a strange thing getting this old. You realize you spent your whole life being an actor in a play where the audience didn't even care about the story. I lived my life like I was being watched by a judge who never actually existed. And now, in this quiet house, I finally see it. I was the only person in the theater. You're doing it too, I can see it. You're exhausted. I can see it in your eyes. You're tired of trying to be someone. You're spending all your energy building a version of yourself that looks good in a photo or sounds good in a conversation at a party. But let me tell you something from the end of the road. Nobody is thinking about you as much as you think they are. Your neighbors, your boss, those people on the internet you're trying to impress. They're all too busy worrying about their own masks to notice yours. This isn't a bad thing. It's the best news you'll ever hear. It means you're free, but you don't act like it. You'd rather be miserable and respected than happy and ignored. You're carrying a heavy stone that nobody asked you to carry. I learned this the hard way, and I learned it early. I remember being 7 years old. I won a little race at school. It was just a silly thing, a field day in the sun. But I got this blue plastic ribbon. I didn't care about the running. I didn't care about the win. I just remember walking home and holding that ribbon so tight my palm was sweaty, just waiting for my father to see it. I remember the way he looked at me when he saw it. He gave me this little nod, this look of pride. For a second, just a second, I felt like I was worth something because someone else was clapping. I spent the next 70 years trying to get that feeling back. I chased the win, the title, the bigger house, the well done from people who didn't even know my middle name. I thought if I just got enough respect, that hollow feeling in my chest would finally go away. I thought I could build a wall of trophies high enough to hide the fact that I was scared. But respect from strangers is like trying to stay warm by a fire made of paper. It burns bright for a second, and then it's gone, and you're colder than you were before. You're left standing in the dark, looking for more paper to burn. Let me tell you about a man I used to know. His name was Sebastian. Sebastian was the big man in town. He was the one everyone wanted to be seen with. He was rich, he was loud, and he always had the best of everything. He lived for the wow. Every car he bought, every watch on his wrist, every story he told. It was all meant to make you feel like he was better than you. I used to envy him. I used to go home and feel small because I didn't have what he had. I called him the king. But then Sebastian got sick. It wasn't one of those fast things that happens in the movies. It was a slow, quiet fading away. And do you know what happened to all those people who used to follow him around? They vanished. In a week, they were gone. They found a new king to follow, a new sun to orbit. I went to see him in the hospital near the end. It was a fancy room, full of flowers that nobody had come to smell. He looked at me, and his eyes were so small, so scared. He told me, "Edward, I have 10,000 business cards in my desk, and not one person to hold my hand today." Sebastian didn't have friends. He had fans. And fans don't show up for the funeral. They just wait for the next show to start. He had spent his whole life being Sebastian the Great, and he died realizing he was just a lonely man in a gown. And it isn't just men. I remember a young woman named Elena. She was the daughter of a friend, and she was like a light. She was brilliant, beautiful, and she lived for the approval of the world. She had this perfect image, the perfect job, the perfect husband, the perfect life that she shared with everyone. She was so tethered to what people thought of her that she didn't even know where she ended and the crowd began. But Elena made a mistake, a human mistake. She made an error at her work, something that cost some money, nothing that couldn't be fixed. But someone found out. Someone who didn't like her perfect life decided to speak ill of her. They exposed her mistake to everyone. They whispered in the offices. They talked behind her back. For a normal person, it would have been a bad week. But for Elena, it was the end of the world. Because she lived for their opinion, their judgment was her only source of life. When they spoke ill of her, she didn't just feel bad. She felt like she had ceased to exist. She couldn't handle the shame. She couldn't handle the idea that people saw her as flawed. She retreated into her house. She stopped eating. She stopped living. She was so afraid of the whispers that she destroyed her own spirit. She ended up losing her job, her marriage, and her health, all because she couldn't stand the thought of being unliked. She let the opinions of people who didn't truly love her burn her entire life to the ground. She was a prisoner of a gallery that had already moved on to the next scandal. It broke my heart to see a life so full of potential vanish because she couldn't be imperfect. I was headed for that same empty room. I remember 1994. I had just finished building this huge cold house. It was a monument to how well I was doing. I threw this big gala to show it off. Hundreds of people. I spent the whole night with a fake smile plastered on my face. I showed off the wine, I showed off the furniture. I told everyone how much everything cost. I felt like a giant. I felt like I had finally arrived. But when the last person left, I stood in that big empty hallway and looked at myself in a floor-to-ceiling mirror. I didn't know who that man was. He looked successful. He looked rich. But he felt like a ghost. I had spent 6 hours making sure people who didn't care about me thought I was impressive. Meanwhile, my wife was in the kitchen cleaning up by herself. My kids were already asleep in their beds. I had spent years being a big deal to the world and a complete stranger to the only people who actually loved me. I was building a life that looked great to everyone else, but I was lonely in my own skin. I was the king of an empty castle. Every time I said yes to some meeting or some event I didn't want to go to, I was saying no to my family. Every hour I spent worrying about my reputation or my standing, I was stealing an hour from my own happiness. And for what? To be someone to people who were also just pretending? It's a sickness. We're all just children wearing our father's suits, hoping nobody notices they don't fit. We're all so scared of being found out, so scared that people will see we're just human. Look at your phones. Look at the way you live. You're selling your real life for a handful of likes from people you don't even like. You're trying so hard to be perfect that you've forgotten how to be human. Your ego is a liar. It's a thief. It tells you that you have to be the smartest, the best, the most successful. But your ego won't sit by your bed when you're 84. Your ego won't remember the sound of your wife's laugh or the way your kids smelled when they were babies. Your ego won't give you peace when the lights go out. The best thing I ever learned, and it took me 80 years to learn it, was how to be nobody. I don't mean being a failure. I don't mean giving up. I mean the feeling you get when you stop needing everyone to look at you. Imagine how light you would feel if you didn't care if people thought you were doing well. Imagine being able to say, I don't know, or I was wrong, or I'm struggling, without feeling like your world was ending. Nobody is looking at you. They're too busy looking at themselves. You're just a background character in their story, just like Loro Sono in yours. Stop trying to win an audience that has already left the theater. Stop building a house you don't want to live in, just so the neighbors will talk about it. Stop chasing a version of you that doesn't actually exist. I want you to try something today, something simple. I call it the secret joy. The next time you do something good, something you're proud of, something that makes you feel great, don't tell a single person. Don't post it. Don't bring it up in conversation. Keep it to yourself like a little treasure hidden in your pocket. See how it feels to have a joy that belongs only to you. If you can't enjoy a beautiful sunset without taking a picture of it to show people you were there, then you aren't looking at the sunset. You're looking at your own reflection in their eyes. You're missing the colors because you're looking for the likes. When you do things just for you, you get your life back. You stop being a puppet. You start being a person. I spent my whole life trying to be a masterpiece for people to look at. I wanted to be a statue on a pedestal. Now, at 84, I'm just a man sitting in a garden watching the ants. I don't need you to call me sir. I don't need you to think I'm smart. I finally realized that I'm enough just because I'm breathing. I don't need to achieve my way into being worthy of love. I was worthy of love the day I was born, and so were you. A lot of you are going to get to the end of your life with a shelf full of trophies and an empty heart. You'll have thousands of friends online and nobody to call when you're scared in the middle of the night. You'll have a life that looks like a movie, but you'll never have actually lived it. You'll have traded your now, the only thing that is real, for a later that never comes. Don't do it. Take off the mask while you're still young enough to feel the wind on your face. Admit you're scared. Admit you're messy. Admit you don't have all the answers. It's the cracks in us that let the light in, not the perfect shiny parts. Stop caring so much about your brand. Your brand isn't going to hold your hand when the lights go out. Your followers won't be at your bedside. Stop waiting for people to clap. The show is going to end anyway. The curtain is going to fall whether you're ready or not. The only question that matters when the lights go down is, were you actually there? Did you actually live? Did you love? Were you real? I spent too many years being the man they wanted. I missed the feeling of my own life because I was too busy making sure it looked good to others. Don't be that man. Be yourself. Cry when it hurts. Laugh when it's funny. Fail as much as you need to. Because at the end of the day, you're the only one who has to sleep in your head. You're the only one who has to live with the person you chose to be. You're the only one who has to face the silence. If this made you think even for a second, share it with someone who is killing themselves to be, quote, perfect. Someone who is working too hard to buy things they don't want, to impress people they don't like. Someone who is living as a ghost in their own life. And tell me in the comments, what are you doing just for them? What would you do today if you knew for a fact that nobody was watching? What would happen if you just decided right now that you didn't have to be someone for anybody? Subscribe if you want to keep having these real talks. I'm tired now. The sun is getting low and the shadows are long. Go be nobody for a while. It's the only way to finally be real. Go live your life, not theirs. Do it now, before the lights go out for good. Go and be human.